Hello, my name's Tommy Anderson and I'm a graphic designer, visual artist, musician and workshop facilitator. I've always had an interest in art and music from a young age, and I loved art at school, so when it came to choosing my GCSE options, art and music were first on the list. I stayed on at sixth form, continuing with art, but decided to take English literature instead of music because there was no access to a drum kit, so I continued making music in my own time. I also took computer studies as an option, as it was the early 90s and designing graphics for video games was becoming more popular, although no specific gaming courses actually existed back then. From sixth form, I went on to college to complete a one-year art and design foundation course. This is something I'd really recommend, as it allowed me to explore a range of new techniques and art forms I hadn't had access to before, and I really enjoyed it. The foundation course also gave me space to really think about what direction I wanted to go in, and when it came to choosing a university course, that direction was graphic design. Graphic design seemed like the ideal option for me, as I'd already started designing branding and gig posters for local bands, and I really enjoyed the challenge of communicating information in a visually striking way. It also brought in many elements of visual arts that I loved, such as typography, illustration, collage and photography. I opted for the graphic design BA honours course at the University of Teesside based on what I'd seen in their prospectus. This was the early 90s, so the internet hadn't really taken off yet, and you had to do what you could to experience potential universities, which for me meant making the journey from Liverpool to Middlesbrough to have a look around and chat with some of the current students to find out as much as I could about the course and living in Middlesbrough. During my 3-year degree course, I really enjoyed experimenting with different design techniques and discovering new ways of working, developing my design skills as I progressed. The 90s was a really exciting time for graphic design. A new wave of grunge design was in full flow, and designers like Dave Carson were really pushing the boundaries of how the graphic design worked. A lot of my work was hands-on, such as creating typographic compositions with wooden type blocks, collaging page layouts, and spray painting stencil graphics. There were 90 students across all 3 years of the graphics course, but with only 20 early Apple Macs available, you had to book a slot to use the computers. So there was a lot of discussing ideas with fellow students and sketchbook work, which isn't such a bad thing. From my degree show, I was offered a 2-week work placement at an advertising agency in Newcastle, and I never went home. From the placement, I worked at a pre-press studio involving tasks like scanning negatives for publications, large format printing, and outputting films for print, which was great to gain understanding of how the print industry works, but I really wanted to do something much more creative. In 1998, the opportunity arrived when I came across an advert for a graphic designer at the Crack magazine. I went for the interview and got the job, and the new position allowed me to really experiment with graphic design and develop my practice. The editor was really supportive in pushing the boundaries and the look of the magazine, elevating it from just a listings mag to something visually exciting, which is exactly where I wanted to be. At the Crack, I also reviewed records, gigs and theatre, and I found myself going to more arts events and meeting more and more people working in the creative industries around the region that proved to be really useful in the future. I also got back into music, forming a new band, Guess Men, in 2000. Guess Men also opened up a new chapter in my working life, winning the Diesel U Music Award, getting signed to a label, releasing records, gigging across the country and working with some great musicians. We also got into soundtracks and produced pieces for film, TV and animation. As much as I loved working at the Crack magazine, in 2002 I decided to take the plunge and go freelance as a graphic designer, setting up my business Baseline Shift as a sole trader. Through contacts I've made around the region, I was soon receiving commissions to design publications, branding and promotion work, and this part of my practice is still going strong today. I mainly focus on publication design, producing brochures, booklets and leaflets for a huge range of clients. I also receive commissions for branding and identity work, creating logos for companies, as well as illustration and site-specific artwork. In 2004, the doors opened to another creative opportunity, working in the community as a participatory artist. A friend of mine who's a poet was delivering some workshops with a group and asked if I could come along to one of the sessions to help them design a poster. The session went really well, and the project funders, New Writing North, asked me to take a longer term role in the project, working with a range of groups from the toddlers nursery to the teen youth group and the pensioners tea club. Over a 6-month period, we created a 400-foot long by 8-foot high graphic artwork, bringing the poetry work to life. The project, titled Max Wall, is still one of the projects I'm most proud of. Everyone said that the outdoor artwork would be vandalised and trashed within weeks. However, a year on, there wasn't a mark on it, due to the fact that everyone in the area had either been directly involved or knew someone that had taken part and had a real community pride in the piece. Since then, I've constantly been developing my participatory work, managing and delivering arts programs inspired by my creative practice. I love what I do and I'm passionate about providing creative opportunities for people who wouldn't usually have access to the arts. I work with a wide range of people in the community, from school and youth groups to adults who have experienced homelessness or are in recovery from addiction. Projects explore a wide range of personal, social and cultural themes, and sometimes a project might be delivering a one-off 2-hour workshop, whilst other projects might last up to a year and include an exhibition, publication, animation or other creative outcome. As part of my practice, I often mentor artists wanting to develop their practice in participatory, as well as with vulnerable adults and high-risk young people, to provide help and advice with learning new skills, training and employment opportunities within the creative sector. I also provide training and consultation to cultural organisations and public services, exploring participatory practice, developing and sustaining successful art projects, effective methods of engagement and ways to record impact and progression. A typical week for me would usually involve a mix of graphic design and participatory projects. I also continue to produce music and try to dedicate at least one day a week to my own visual arts practice, producing artworks using typography, photography, collage, illustration and aerosol art. I've exhibited work across the country and sell prints and original artworks through cultural venues, shops and online. Creating artwork as part of my visual arts practice is something that I might have lost sight of during the early years of my career, when I was focused on my employed work. But as an artist, it's crucial to continue developing, trying new things, and even if you're not considering selling your work, just making artwork because you enjoy it. So if I could give one piece of advice to my younger self, it would be exactly that. Never let a creative career become just a job. If you love what you do for a living, that's definitely one huge positive in life.